Sarah Chen stared through the reinforced windows of Research Station Omega-7, watching sheets of purple rain pound against the transparent panels. The frontier colony world of New Haven wasn't exactly living up to its name today. At 11 years old, she was the youngest resident of the research station, where her parents studied the planet's unique atmospheric phenomena. The rain finally began to ease, and Sarah saw her chance. She quickly pulled on her environment suit, checking the seals twice like her mother had taught her. The station's airlock hissed as she stepped out into the alien afternoon. The local flora had evolved to thrive in the planet's harsh conditions. Crystalline trees stretched toward the violet sky, their transparent branches refracting the light of New Haven's binary suns. Sarah loved exploring after the rainstorms. The crystalline forest would be full of new formations, as the mineral-rich precipitation caused rapid growth in the silicon-based plant life. Her parents were always too busy with their research to join her on these expeditions, but they trusted her to stay within range of the station's protective field. Today, something was different. As she ventured deeper into the crystal forest than usual, her suit's sensors detected an anomalous energy reading. Following the signal, Sarah pushed through a grove of newly formed crystal chutes and found herself in a small clearing. In the center lay what looked like a perfectly smooth sphere, about the size of a basketball, hovering slightly above the ground. The sphere was unlike anything she'd seen before. Its surface seemed to shift between total darkness and brilliant iridescence, like oil on water. Sarah's suit sensors were going crazy, detecting energy patterns that didn't match any known signatures in its database. She knew she should call the station, but something about the sphere drew her closer. As she approached, the sphere's surface began to ripple, responding to her presence. Sarah reached out slowly, her gloved hand trembling slightly. The moment her fingers made contact, the sphere's surface became completely transparent, revealing intricate geometric patterns flowing within its core. A soft hum filled her helmet's audio sensors. "Hello, Sarah Chen," a voice whispered directly into her mind, somehow bypassing her suit's communication system entirely. "I've been waiting a very long time for someone like you." Sarah jerked her hand back in surprise, but she wasn't afraid. The voice felt friendly, curious, almost childlike, despite its alien nature. "What are you?" she asked aloud, knowing somehow that it would hear her. "I am a seed," the voice replied, "a repository of knowledge and potential, left behind by those who came before. They scattered us across the galaxy, waiting for species with the right qualities to find us. Your kind intrigues us, Sarah Chen. Humans are unexpected." Before Sarah could respond, her suit's proximity alarm blared. Something massive was entering the atmosphere directly above their position. Through the crystal canopy, she could see the burning trail of a ship making a combat descent. Definitely not one of the regular supply vessels. "They've detected my awakening," the seed said urgently. "Sarah Chen, you must make a choice. I can return to dormancy, or you can accept my offer of partnership. But you must decide quickly." "Partnership?" Sarah asked, her heart racing as she watched more ships appear in the violet sky. "What do you mean?" "The ones who came before believed that technology alone was not enough. They sought species with creativity, adaptability, and most importantly, empathy. They believed the future of the galaxy should be guided by hearts as well as minds. You found me because of your curiosity, your desire to explore and understand. Will you help me fulfill my purpose?" The ships were getting closer. Sarah could hear the station's alert sirens in the distance. She thought about all the stories she'd read about first contact, about humanity's place in the galaxy. Taking a deep breath, she placed her hand back on the sphere's surface. "Yes," she said firmly. "I accept." The sphere's surface rippled one final time before dissolving completely, transforming into streams of luminescent particles that flowed up Sarah's arm and spread throughout her suit. She gasped as new awareness flooded her consciousness. Knowledge, capabilities, and a deep connection to something vast and ancient. "Thank you, Sarah Chen," the seed's voice whispered in her mind, now feeling like a part of her own thoughts. Together, we will show the galaxy why humanity was worth waiting for. Sarah turned back toward the research station, her mind already racing with possibilities as the alien ships descended through New Haven's atmosphere. Whatever was coming, she knew nothing would ever be the same again. The research station's emergency bunker was crowded with confused scientists as Sarah's parents tried to make sense of the situation. Through the bunker's sensor feeds, they watched 3 distinct groups of ships take up positions in orbit around New Haven. None matched any known human or allied species designs. Sarah sat quietly in the corner, feeling the seed's presence flowing through her mind like a gentle current. Information and understanding were coming in waves, but not in an overwhelming way. The seed was careful, patient, teaching her as quickly as she could learn while being mindful of her human limitations. They're called the Concordat. Sarah suddenly spoke up, drawing everyone's attention. The ships with the spiral patterns. They're collectors. They search for artifacts left behind by the precursors. Dr. Chen, Sarah's mother, knelt beside her daughter. Sarah, honey, how could you possibly know that? Instead of answering directly, Sarah held out her hand. A holographic display materialized above her palm, showing detailed scans of the alien vessels that shouldn't have been possible with the station's sensors. The assembled scientists gasped. The seed chose me, Mom, Sarah explained, trying to put the profound experience into words. It's like having access to a vast library, but also having a friend who helps you understand everything you're reading. And it chose humans because we're different from the other spacefaring species. Different how? Her father asked, his scientific curiosity overtaking his parental concern. The hologram shifted, showing images of various alien civilizations. Most advanced species follow predictable paths of development. They become hyper-specialized, efficient, logical. But humans, we're adaptable, creative. We solve problems in unexpected ways. The precursors believed this would be crucial for what's coming. An alarm blared as one of the alien ships broke formation, beginning a descent toward the station's coordinates. Sarah's display identified it as belonging to the Meridian Collective, rivals of the Concordat, who believed precursor technology should be destroyed rather than preserved. They're afraid, Sarah said softly. All of them. The Concordat wants to lock the seed away and study it. The Collective wants to destroy it. And the third group, she shuddered slightly. They're called the Synthesis, and they want to use it as a weapon. Dr. Chen squeezed her daughter's hand. What do we do? Sarah closed her eyes, consulting with the seed. When she opened them again, there was a new determination in her gaze. We need to get to the quantum communications array on the other side of the crystal forest. The seed can use it to contact others like itself. But we have to hurry. And we have to do it in a way none of them would expect. The scientists looked at each other uncertainly, but Sarah was already moving to the bunker's equipment locker. With the seed's guidance, her hands moved confidently over the environmental suits, making modifications that shouldn't have been possible with the limited tools available. The crystal forest interferes with most scanning technology, she explained as she worked. That's why your research has been so challenging. But if we reconfigure these suits to resonate at the same frequency as the crystals, she stepped back, admiring her handiwork, we'll be practically invisible to their sensors. That's brilliant, one of the senior researchers muttered, examining the modifications. Why didn't we think of that? Because you were approaching it purely logically, Sarah smiled. Sometimes you need to think a little sideways. The ground shook as the Meridian ship landed somewhere above them. They could hear the sound of alien machinery beginning to cut through the station's outer defenses. Mom, Dad, I need your help, Sarah said urgently. The rest of you should take the emergency shuttles and evacuate. Make as much noise as possible going south. That's the kind of desperate escape attempt they'll be expecting. As the other scientists prepared to leave, Sarah finished modifying 3 suits. The seed's knowledge combined with human ingenuity had transformed the simple environmental protection into something far more sophisticated. The crystalline fractal patterns now covering the surfaces would bend light and sensor readings around them, using New Haven's natural phenomena to their advantage. "Are you sure about this?" her father asked as they prepared to leave the bunker. Sarah nodded, feeling the seed's warm encouragement in her mind. The precursors left the seeds to find species who could think differently, act differently, and most importantly, care differently. They believed the galaxy's next great civilization would need to balance logic with emotion, knowledge with wisdom. She smiled. "They were looking for humans, Dad. They just didn't know it yet." The bunker door opened, and the Chen family stepped out into a world that had become a battlefield. But as they moved carefully through the crystal forest, their modified suits making them almost one with the alien environment, Sarah felt a surge of optimism. Humanity had always thrived when faced with impossible challenges. Now it was their turn to show the galaxy why. The crystal forest had become a war zone. Above the transparent canopy, ships from 3 alien factions exchanged fire, their weapons leaving trails of quantum disruption in New Haven's violet sky. On the ground, search parties combed through the crystalline growths, their advanced scanning equipment frustrated by the natural interference of the silicon-based vegetation. None of them fought to look for 3 environmental suits crawling through a narrow tunnel beneath the crystal roots. "The forest is alive," Sarah whispered to her parents as they moved through the bioluminescent passage. "Not just alive. It's all connected. The precursors didn't just leave the seed here by chance. They chose New Haven because of the crystals." The seed's knowledge continued to flow through her mind, but it wasn't just downloading information. It was learning from her too, adapting its ancient wisdom to mesh with human perspective. Together, they were becoming something entirely new. A distant explosion rocked the tunnel, sending crystalline dust raining down on their suits. The evacuation shuttles had launched, drawing the attention of the alien factions as planned. But it wouldn't fool them for long. "There," Sarah pointed ahead. "The crystal structures are natural quantum computers. The whole forest is like one giant processing network. That's why your research readings never made sense. You were studying the branches, but missing the root system." Dr. Chen's scientific curiosity got the better of him. "Are you saying the entire forest is some kind of biological supercomputer?" "Not exactly," Sarah replied, the seed helping her find the right words. "It's more like, imagine if the internet wasn't built with cables and servers, but grew naturally. The precursors didn't build this. They found it, studied it, and left the seeds to find species who could understand it in new ways." They emerged from the tunnel into a massive underground cavern. The walls were lined with enormous crystal formations, their surfaces rippling with patterns of light that seemed to respond to their presence. In the center stood a structure that was definitely not natural, a spiral tower of some dark, unknown material that absorbed the light from the crystals around it. "A precursor relay station," Sarah's mother breathed, her scientist's mind trying to process what she was seeing. "All this time, it was right under our research site." "They hid it well," Sarah agreed. "The Concordat and the others have been searching for places like this for centuries. But they were always looking up at the stars, never down at the roots beneath their feet." The seed's presence surged in Sarah's mind as they approached the tower. Images and information cascaded through her consciousness. The true purpose of the seeds, the precursors' hopes for the future, and most importantly, why humanity's unique traits were so crucial to their plan. The precursors weren't looking for someone to simply inherit their technology, Sarah explained as they reached the tower's base. They were looking for a species that could do what they couldn't, find new ways to use it, adapt it, improve it. Most advanced civilizations become rigid, stuck in their ways. But humans, she smiled, we never stop asking, what if? The tower responded to their presence, surfaces shifting to reveal an entrance. But before they could reach it, a new sound echoed through the cavern, the whine of cutting tools above as the alien search parties finally detected the underground chamber. "They're going to break through," Dr. Chen said urgently. "We're out of time." But Sarah was already moving, her hands flying over the tower's control surfaces as the seed guided her actions. Maybe not. Mom, Dad, I need you to trust me. The seed has shown me something. A way to use the crystal network that the precursors never considered. It's risky, untested. In other words, her mother smiled despite the danger. It's a very human solution. Sarah nodded. The precursors designed incredible technology, but they were too cautious, too logical to push its limits. We're going to do what humans do best, improvise. The cutting sounds grew louder as Sarah interfaced with the tower's systems. The seed's knowledge combined with her human creativity, finding connections and possibilities that neither would have seen alone. The crystal formations around them began to pulse with new energy as she rerouted power in ways their builders had never imagined. The forest isn't just a computer network, Sarah explained as she worked. It's a quantum resonance matrix. The precursors used it to communicate across vast distances. But what if we reverse the flow? Instead of sending signals out, the cavern's ceiling finally broke open and alien search teams began rappelling down on energy tethers. But they froze in mid-descent as the crystal formations around them flared with blinding light. The tower thrummed with power as Sarah completed her modifications, sending waves of quantum energy outward through the living crystal network. "What did you do?" her father asked in awe as the alien intruders were forced to retreat, their technology overwhelmed by the cascading resonance. "I turned the entire forest into a quantum beacon." Sarah grinned. But not to call for help, to wake up every dormant seed on New Haven. The precursors didn't just leave one here. They left hundreds, sleeping in the crystal matrix, waiting for the right moment. And now, the ground began to tremble as points of light appeared throughout the crystal forest above, each marking the location of another awakening seed. The alien factions in orbit suddenly had much bigger problems than chasing one human girl. "Now," Sarah said, her eyes shining with the light of human determination mixed with precursor wisdom, "we show them what humanity and the seeds can really do together." Chaos erupted in New Haven's orbit as hundreds of seeds awakened simultaneously. The crystal forest blazed with quantum energy, each awakened seed sending ripples through space-time that played havoc with the alien vessel's systems. The Concordat, Meridian Collective, and synthesis fleets found themselves unable to maintain formation as their sophisticated technology rebelled against them. In the underground chamber, Sarah stood before the precursor tower, her consciousness expanded by her connection to not just one seed now, but an entire network of them. Through the crystal matrix, she could sense other humans across the colony making similar connections, researchers, colonists, even children, each bringing their unique perspectives to the ancient technology. "It's beautiful," she whispered, watching through the seed's awareness as humans and precursor technology formed partnerships across New Haven. Every person sees different possibilities, thinks of different applications. The seeds are learning as much from us as we are from them. The chamber shuddered as several ships made emergency landings nearby, their crews desperate to stop what was happening. But they were too late. The quantum resonance cascade Sarah had initiated was spreading, transforming the very nature of New Haven's crystal forest. "They're coming," her father warned, checking the readings on his modified suit. "All three factions at once." Sarah nodded, but she wasn't afraid. Through her connection to the seed network, she could sense the aliens' confusion, their rigid minds struggling to comprehend what was happening. Their civilizations had spent centuries trying to unlock the precursors' secrets through pure logic and technological expertise. None of them had considered that the key might be something as unpredictable as human creativity. The chamber's entrance exploded inward as heavily armed representatives from all three factions forced their way in. The Concordat's researchers in their precision-engineered battlesuits, the Meridian Collective's zealots with their reality-warping weapons, and the synthesis biomechanical hybrid troops, all converging on what they saw as the source of the disturbance. "Stop," the Concordat commander ordered. "You have no idea what forces you're dealing with." Sarah turned to face them. The quantum energy of thousands of seeds flowing through her. Actually, she smiled. I think you're the ones who don't understand. The precursors didn't leave their technology to be preserved, destroyed, or weaponized. They left it to evolve. Impossible. A synthesis troops growled. The seeds are perfect tools, waiting for worthy wielders. That's where you're wrong. Sarah's mother stepped forward. They're not tools. They're seeds in the truest sense. Meant to grow, change, become something new. The precursors knew their civilization had reached its limits. They needed someone who could see beyond those limits. The alien factions raised their weapons, but Sarah was already moving. Her connection to the seeds showed her possibilities that even the precursors hadn't imagined. The crystal formations around them pulsed with energy as she interfaced with them in ways that defied conventional physics. Humanity isn't perfect, Sarah said as quantum energies swirled around her. We're messy, emotional, sometimes illogical. But that's exactly why the seeds chose us. We don't just think outside the box. We reimagine what boxes are for. The aliens opened fire, but their weapons' energy was absorbed and redirected by the crystal matrix, feeding back into the growing transformation. Through her expanded awareness, Sarah could feel similar scenes playing out across New Haven. As other humans and seeds worked together, each partnership discovering new applications for the ancient technology. Your civilizations became too specialized, too set in their ways, Sarah explained as the chamber filled with swirling patterns of light. You see technology as something to be mastered, controlled, but we see it as something to experiment with, to combine in new ways, to use for things its creators never imagined. The precursor tower hummed with power as Sarah completed her interface with the crystal network. The seeds weren't just communicating anymore. They were transforming, evolving through their interactions with human consciousness. And through that evolution, something unprecedented was emerging. This is what the precursors hoped for, Sarah said, her voice echoing with the combined wisdom of human intuition and ancient knowledge. Not someone to preserve their legacy, but someone to transform it into something entirely new. 3 months after the events in the Crystal Chamber, New Haven had become the center of a galactic revolution. The once quiet research colony now pulsed with possibilities as humans and seeds continued to discover new ways to combine their unique strengths. The crystal forest had expanded, its quantum network reaching toward the stars, carrying humanity's creative influence to the far corners of known space. Sarah stood at an observation window in the newly constructed Convergence Center, watching ships from dozens of species arrive in orbit. Many were former members of the 3 factions that had once tried to seize the seeds by force. Now they came seeking understanding, drawn by reports of achievements that their finest scientists had deemed impossible. They still don't quite understand how we do it, Sarah mused to her parents, who had become key figures in facilitating cooperation between humans and alien visitors. The seed's presence in her mind had evolved into something deeper, not just a partnership, but a true synthesis of human intuition and precursor knowledge. That's because they're still looking for a logical process they can replicate, her father replied, reviewing data from the latest collaborative experiments. They want a formula, a procedure, a definitive method. They struggle to accept that human unpredictability is a feature, not a flaw. Through the quantum network, Sarah could sense other human-seed partnerships across New Haven, each approaching problems in their own unique way. A teenage artist had discovered how to use the crystals to create sculptures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. A retired engineer had found a way to interface the seeds with ancient human music, producing harmonies that could restructure matter at the quantum level. A group of children playing with seed-enhanced toys had accidentally invented a new form of faster-than-light communication. The precursors were right, Sarah said, watching a new crystal formation emerge from the ground below, its structure incorporating patterns that would have been deemed illogical just months ago. They had reached the limits of pure technological advancement. They needed a species that could break the rules, not because we're smarter or more advanced, but because we're willing to try things that shouldn't work. A holographic display materialized beside them, showing the progress of the quantum network's expansion. Everywhere the crystal structures spread, they carried the seeds of change. Other species were beginning to adapt, learning from humanity's example that progress didn't always follow a linear path. "We're teaching them how to play again," Sarah's mother observed, smiling as she watched a group of traditionally stoic Concordat researchers excitedly discussing impossible theories with human children. How to experiment without fear of failure. How to find joy in discovery rather than just seeking practical applications. The seed network hummed with activity as new connections formed across the galaxy. The rigid boundaries between species and civilizations were breaking down, replaced by a web of collaboration and shared wonder. Humanity's gift for finding innovative solutions was spreading, inspiring other species to rediscover their own capacity for creative thinking. The precursors didn't just leave us their technology, Sarah realized, feeling the combined knowledge of human and seed flow through her consciousness. They left us a challenge, to prove that the next step in evolution isn't about becoming more perfect, more logical, or more advanced. It's about remaining adaptable, staying curious, and never losing our ability to imagine new possibilities. Outside the window, a ship from the Synthesis arrived, the last of the 3 factions to officially seek partnership with New Haven. They had finally accepted that their dream of controlling the seed's power had been short-sighted. True synthesis wasn't about domination or optimization. It was about growth, change, and the courage to embrace uncertainty. As Sarah watched the ship dock, she felt a surge of optimism for the future. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not by following the established path of technological advancement, but by blazing new trails through unknown territory. The seeds had chosen humans not despite our imperfections, but because of them. Because in our messy, emotional, sometimes illogical way of approaching problems, we had preserved something precious that more advanced civilizations had lost. "We're not just changing the galaxy," Sarah said, sensing the quantum network pulse with potential. "We're teaching it how to change itself, how to evolve not through careful, calculated steps, but through leaps of imagination and the courage to attempt the impossible." The crystal forest shimmered with new growth, each formation unique, unpredictable, beautiful in its imperfection. Just like humanity itself, it had become something the precursors could never have planned for, and that was exactly what they had hoped would happen. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't technological advancement or military might. It was the simple, powerful reminder that the most extraordinary discoveries often come from being willing to color outside the lines, to question the rules, and to believe in possibilities that no one else can see. And as the quantum network continued to grow, carrying human creativity and innovation to the stars, the galaxy began to remember how to dream again.